Alright, I want to do this video, and I guess we'll try to do it as fast as we can, preserve some time.
We'll start here at the war chiefs. Alright, so the war chiefs were chosen for their personal valor, several in the tribe. The Sachemship was in the family, hereditary. Sachemship. What is that? Sachem. What is Sachem? Chief of an American Indian tribe, 1620, from Narragansett, Algonquin, Sachem, chief. Alright, chief. So the chief was in the family, hereditary, the tribe was governed by.
Okay, so his etymology gave him Sachem. Sachem is chief. Okay, so when we go here and we see the principal tribes, this is America being the latest, greatest description of the New World. Online, it's page 153. On paper, it's page 131. The principal tribes of the ancient natives of this country were of the north side of Canada, the Canadians, the Bentishemites. Okay, so we have the Canadian people using the name of the ancient Indians as a group. Canadians. So as a group, these Indians didn't call themselves the Israelites in the north area. They called themselves the Canadians. They were the bloodline of the Shemites, specifically the Beti. They call themselves the Beti Shemites. This is the same tribe that the Bible calls, the King James Bible calls the Benjamites. Okay? Now, it says the Hurons. Today, the Hurons are called the Wyandot. Okay? And yes, there are proxy Indians sitting in your stead as the Wyandots. There are no, as far as I can tell, Bentishemite Indians to date. I have not looked it up. Someone could easily type in Bentishemite Indians of Canada and see what pops up, and that could lead us on a whole nother trail. We should follow this trail real quick. And it says the Hurons, who are the Wyandot today, the Algonquins. Now, the Quinagibbons, the Quinagibbons, the Algonquins, the Attagopatans, the Atikamekis, whatever, the Nepi-Syrianus, and on the south side, the Echemins, all right, and the chief of the heads, the chief heads or princes of these tribes were called the Sagamores. Oh my God, my lips were like walking on that, and they tripped every step of the way. Okay, so now we hear that this. Let's hear it again.
We'll start here at the war chiefs. Alright, so the war chiefs were chosen for their personal valor, several in the tribe. The Sachemship was in the family, hereditary. Sachemship.
Hereditary, so that's through the bloodline, right?
What is that? Sachem. What is Sachem? Chief of an American Indian tribe.
Okay, so now here we have the Delaware Sakema, Sakima. Now, doesn't that sound kind of Asian? Right? There's what? The Hitichi. Almost sounds like Hitachi, but you know, it just change it. There's the Delaware Sachemina, Sakima, the Micmac. Okay, when we type in Micmac, right? All right, let's go with Google. Sorry. Let's see. Now, let's see. I'm pretty sure the Micmac were classified as Negroes, but it seems that they've already got a proxy sitting in place. I'm sure I'm not going to find what I'm looking for on Wikipedia. All right, so let me go back to this. Which one we are? All right. Okay, so here we have Algonquin, okay? And when we deal with the Algonquin name, we can just deal with this, and the Algonquins are right here under the tribe of Bentishemites. Now, we already understand that knowing that we're dealing with the Bentishemites or the Benjamites, that we're dealing with the tribe of Israel. Now, all these names seem to be part of this one branch, and the heads or the princes of this tribe, because remember, these Indians are dealing with hereditary, right? Hereditary. Now, if you'd like to know, we'll say, hey computer, what does hereditary mean? Oops, I did not mean to do that, I'm sorry. And then I'll just go back to, why didn't I just do that there? Oh, I want to use that. And then we'll just go, what? I spell wrong again. Of course you did, you fucking idiot. Is passing of traits from parents to their offspring. So this is a passing of the traits. Okay? So this is what Shecemship is passed through the family based on the valor of what the sons within that family.
For their personal vows, several in the tribe. The Sachemship was in the family, hereditary. Sachemship, what is that? So the chief was in the family, hereditary. The tribe was governed by the chiefs.
Okay, so we're going to break this down, and the easiest thing to do is say, when you're looking at Shem and they say, in their world, they don't say Shem. See, they have a hard time saying shh, and they, meaning the people at the time that did this, okay? So if people sit there and make words like TS, and that we just look at that as a word that starts with an S, we just get the T silent, like it's kind of weird. All right, so we should kind of think about what they're really performing on us. All right, so when we say Shemite, right? That's right, Shemite. All right, so instead they go Semite, right? And then they go Sem et ik, right? Right, so this is how they play it off. So keep in mind their word game. You always got to play like their rules for the moment. So are they saying Sachem, or are they saying something else? Now listen to this.
Chiefs. That's retarded. And while the Confederacy, when such existed by a council of the chiefs of the constituent tribes, The Natchez were governed by their rulers who maintained an absolute monarchy based on religious dignity.
Based on religious dignity. They had a Sachemship. Now, you have to sit there and say, what is a Sachemship? Okay, so now we are going to go connect them. All right. Power! So we go to something called Genesis 34. Now, if you go to the beginning of this video, he's going to talk about the Adena people, and he will say things about the Adena people that will solidify some things.
May be found. Y'all didn't see that, I'd be bootlegging. Shh. Occasionally they may be found east of the Algonquin Mountains in Mexico and Central America. The mounds run from 30 to 100 feet in diameter and from 60 to 100 feet high. At this point, but you know, things don't really change, and we do understand. So,
excuse me, I'm trying to find where he brings up the Adena people. Let me pause.
Separate you, as you know, the drop says this too a lot. They separate you with time from your heritage so that it seems so far away that it has nothing to do with you, right? It has nothing to do with you because we say shit like prehistoric. But let's just look at prehistoric and see exactly what that word means. Let's just go look at that. Let's go look. Pre is before, obviously.
So at this point, just for some added knowledge, he's looked up moat because it said that the people set up their homes on moats, and it's a mound. Now, a mound or a hillock, and that's what we're dealing with when we look at the mounds and the mound builders. They're building mounds and hillocks, and this is from Old French. Now, at some point, you'd have to say, you know, how's the French know this? You know, the English came over here, you know, how's the French know this? And it's from the mid 14th century. Now, the answer to how the French know this comes from two places. M.W. Smith sent something that talks about the Celts of Paris, how the city of Paris got started. And there's Aboriginals there, and the French come in and make a settlement and turn it into a city. Excuse me, the Celts come there and do this, and then where do we get the name French? And it's from the Aboriginals. Because how can we prove this? Because the modern court said you can't call yourself French, white people, because those people were already here. So this French that we talk about, and I think this language as well that we call French, was the language of the Aboriginals, I believe. Don't quote me on this one. But the name, certainly. Why else would the French court say that? I understand that they overthrew somebody, but why is the name so important that they can't use? Now, as we look over here, it says Old French moat. So French knew what the moat was, okay? So from medieval mota, right? Now in Spain, I mean not excuse me, in Mexico, mota is weed. That's how you get weed. Hey, mota, hey, yeah, you want smoke? You want? Okay, so mound fortified height. So we're dealing with fortified heights. Now, if you watch all of Ed's video, he's going to show you later that the fortified heights, he presumes, has to deal with these leftover creatures, like you know, prehistory just means before recorded time. So before recorded time, meaning they made the printed book in the late 1500s, I believe, and the drops got that in this video when he brings up the map on screen at 50 something. And you can see right here, printing invented is excuse me, 14 something. Okay, so this, anything before 1400 is pretty much prehistoric. All right, so that's the cutoff line for history. Printing invented. Yeah, we got written manuscripts, but all those manuscripts are considered prehistory. It's not until they're converted and written into books, and then everything's used in type and typeset with the printing press until everything's considered history. Everything before that's prehistory. So before that is the 1400s. That means Columbus comes in what? 1490. So that's why they call it pre-Columbian, because it deals with prehistory. Everything before Dumb Diverses. See how important Dumb Diverses is? Now they start making papal bulls. This is one of the damn first ones could be printed up.
Let's look at historic. Pre is always before. Historic, 1660s of or belonging to history, probably a back formation from historical, perhaps influenced by French, historique, meaning what is noted or celebrated in history. Context of what's being discussed here, this is just some shit before Columbus and Cortez showed up. French, right? Pre-French, that's Latin, Greek, and all that shit. That's just before them. So, let's continue. Exhibits in tablet was never conclusively resolved. Well, no, we don't want to resolve it, because if we put two and two together...
Excuse me. Okay, it took me a minute, but I finally found it. Okay, it's funny because early in his video at 21 minutes, he starts talking about this. Okay, so and when I saw it and thinking about Sachemship. Okay, now I want you to listen very close.
There is a movie. Oh man, I wish I would have saved it. The story about Jacob, Esau, and Adinah. Adinah was raped by one of the tribes that were not from Jacob's line, and the prince raped her, and so the daddy of the prince came to try to make it right, and then the brothers got to talk, and it was like, yo, you got to circumcise all your men, and then you'll be somewhat close to where we can let you marry her. And then they decided, okay, we're gonna do that. Then they went home, and then they all started circumcising themselves, and that was a painful, brutal thing, because the grown men had to do it, as well as the babes and the children. And then after that, I believe it was Levi. Don't get me wrong, I don't remember it, but if I can find the movie, I'll post it in the blog, a link to it. But at that point, they went in and they slaughtered. But that's not the point of what I want to talk about. This picture. In this picture, in that movie that a European did about the blacks, and they were blacks. The story of Jacob and Esau. They were Negroes, right? I gotta find the movie for you. But these little things you see here, these little wooden things with the little tops on them, it's freaking hilarious how they put these people that don't fit that narrative, because they don't.
Now look at that. A story about Jacob and Esau, a visual, right? About the movie Jacob and Esau, gave him the idea about the situation in the story about Dinah, not Adina. But isn't that weird? The Adina people made him think of that story with the image of the Adina people, in the Mississippi Valley. I think that's what he's looking up right now. So, isn't it funny how later in this, at the 1 hour mark, he's then talking about something called Sachem.
Chief of an American Indian tribe, 1620s from
Now,
Algonquin, Sachem, chief. Chief. So the chief was.
so we have Sachemship, hereditary family title. It's kept within the family. Now let's learn. And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. When Shechem, now take the H out, and you have Sachem. Excuse me, wrong one. Oop, wrong one. Going way off. Shechem. Chem. When we look at this, we have the Brenton Septuagint, and he said, I will bring you out of the affliction of the Egyptian to the land of the Canaanites and the Chittites and the Amorites and the Fezites and the Gerashites and the Evites and the Jebusites to a land flowing with milk and honey, baby. So this is the Brenton Septuagint. We have no fucking purpose with the New Testament. That is not written by us. We are enslaved by them. All right. So don't believe the hype. All right. When Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and defiled her. And his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob. And he loved the damsel, and spake kindly unto the damsel. And Shechem spake unto his father Hamor, saying, Get me this damsel to wife. And Jacob heard that he defiled Dinah, his daughter. Now his sons were with his cattle in the field, and Jacob held his peace until they were come. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out unto Jacob to commune with him, and the sons of Jacob came out to the field when they heard it. And the men were grieved, and they were very wroth, because he had wrought foully with Israel in laying with Jacob's daughter, which thing ought not to be done. Why? And Abraham said to Esau, Do not take a Canaanite as a wife. And we go back to the Brenton Septuagint. Do not take a Canaanite as a wife. And Isaac said to Esau, Do not take a Canaanite as I said Abraham to Jacob. I don't think Abraham told Jacob that. I think he told Isaac that. Excuse me. All right. But the rule is, do not take a Canaanite as a wife. Does that rule apply to any other nation? Yes. The Moabites and the Ammonites. When Ezra came out, he kicked those children out, because in Babylon we married unto Moabites and Ammonites, who did not let us pass when we left what we call Egypt. So they have no place in our inheritance. So when we marry unto Moabites and Ammonites, our children are then not considered worthy. We must study this Bible, because we've been tricked. Remember, in Deuteronomy it says, if you see a beautiful woman during a time of war, and we are at war, that you can marry unto her, but she's got to do these things. You got to read this book. And Hamor commune with them. The soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter. I pray you give her to him as a wife, and ye marriage with us, and give your daughters unto us, and take our daughters unto you. So I think that is Deuteronomy 7. And when we bring you into a land, and thou goest forth to possess it, and shall remove great nations from before thee, the Chittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, right? You don't say no Canaanites, Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Evites. Did you ever hear of Evites? I did not hear of Evites until I read the Brenton Septuagint. And the Jebusites, 7 nations more numerous and stronger than you. And the Lord thy God shall deliver them into the hands when thou shalt smite them, and thou shalt utterly destroy them, and thou shalt not make a covenant with them, neither shall ye pity them, neither shall ye contract marriages with them. Thou shalt not give thy daughter to thy sons. So what are we doing? We are now reading what? Genesis. We are in Genesis 34. So why are we even reading it online when we can just go read it right here? When we in Sachemship, see how it's spelled differently now? All right. Spoke to Emor's father. Okay, so we got down to they're in the plains together, right? And he says, "Give us your daughters and take give us your daughters and take our daughters for your sons. Dwell in the midst of us. Behold, the land is spacious before you. Dwell in it and trade and get possessions in it." And Shechem said to her father and to her brothers, to her father and her brothers, "I would find grace before you, and we will give whatever ye shall name. Multiply your demands for dowry." Right? Dowry is the bridal exchange, right? But he's already slept with her, so you know that's it's very rude, right? This already breaks our laws, right? "And I will give accordingly as ye shall say unto me. Only ye shall give me this damsel for a wife." And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Emor, right? It's Hamor, right? And the other one, it's Emor here. His father craftfully. So they answered him craftfully and spoke to them and spoke to, and spoke to them. I had a lot of coffee today. Because they had defiled Dinah, their sister, and Simon and Levi, the brothers of Dinah, said to them, "We shall not be able to do this thing, to give our sister to this man who is uncircumcised, for it is a reproach to us. Only these terms will we comfort you and dwell among you, if ye also will be as we are, in that every male that you be circumcised. And we will give you our daughters unto you, and take your daughters for wives unto us, and we will dwell with you, and we will be as one race." So as you have right there, he proposes, circumcise yourself and we'll amalgamate with you. "But if ye not hearken to be circumcised, we will take our daughters and daughter and depart." And these words please Emor and Shechem, the son of Emor. And the young man delayed not to do this thing, for he was much attached to Jacob's daughter, and he was most honorable of all his father's house. Now he already slept with her, and he's the most honorable. Okay, so as we continue, it states, "Emor and Shechem his son came to the gate of their city and spoke with the men of their city, saying, These men are peaceable, let them dwell with us upon the land, let them trade in it. And behold, the land is extensive before them. We will take our daughters to us. We will take their daughters to us for wives, and give them our daughters. Only on these terms will the men conform to us and dwell with us, so that so as to be one people. If every male of us be circumcised, as they also are circumcised, and shall not their cattle and their herds and their possessions be ours. Only in this let us conform to them, and they will dwell with us." And all that went in at the gate of the city hearkened to Emor and Sichem his son, and they were circumcised in the flesh of their foreskin every male. And it came to pass on the third day, when they were in pain, the two sons of Jacob, Simon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword, and came upon the city securely, and slew every male. So when they were down there and they couldn't move, and they were healing, and it was sore, and they were holding their man parts, and they couldn't defend themselves, he slew them, Shechem, as well, as we're about to read. And he took each man his sword. That means Levi took his sword and Simon took his sword. And they went to the city securely and slew every male. And they slew Emor, or as the Bible says, Hamor, and Shechem, his son, with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of the house of Shechem and went forth. But the sons of Jacob came upon the wounded and ravaged the city, wherein they had defiled Dinah their sister. And their sheep and their oxen and their ass they took, and all the things whatsoever were in the city, whatsoever were in the plain. Excuse me, I thought it said whosoever, but it says whatsoever. And they took captive all the persons of them, and all their store, their wives, and plundered both whatever things were there in the city and whatever things were in the houses. And Jacob said to Simon and Levi, you have made me hateful, so that I should be evil to all the inhabitants of the land. I'll say this again. And Jacob said to Simon and Levi, ye have made me hateful, so that I should be evil to all the inhabitants of the land, both among the Canaanites and Perizzites, Perizzites, and I am few in number. They will gather themselves against me and cut me into pieces, and I will utterly be destroyed, and my house. And they said, nay, but they shall treat our sister as a harlot. Now, that is what is written there. When you get to 31 here, it says, to an extent, the same thing, except for it says Canaanites. And it's not Canaanites, it's Canaanites. When you go over and you deal with Semitic, it should be Shemitic, because the forefather is Shem. They have reclassified all things. Right? Now, when you go here, it's Sachemship instead of Shechem,ship, because it's the city of Shechem and the act of Shechem and Dinah. Now we have the Adina people, right? You see what's going on? So these Indians dealt with what's called a Sachemship. It is a hereditary thing that is passed down, right? Now, as you go further, when it gets down here, it talks about religious dignity. The Sachemship dealt with religious dignity, all right? Now, you can see that these tribes that are being talked about in this book, the Caucasian has walked upon them and seen that they have a form of religious dignity, but he doesn't quite understand, but he records it. But yet in Genesis 34, we see the root of that religious dignity dealing with a Canaanite laying with their sister, whether it was willful or not. In this, he says it's rape. In books, it doesn't. The Bible doesn't make it sound like it's rape. But whatever. The act of Levi and his brother slaying those men, all of them for that, is clear. In these Indians that are being talked about in this video, in the classroom, the mound builders, you can clearly see that these two things are connected. Now, historically, these Indians did not forget their ways. We are being lied to. They were keeping their ways. If we read further into this, we might find some things that they're sinning. We might find some abominations. But for the most part, they are keeping some laws. As we can see, this act in Genesis is now it's dealing with it's called a blank ship. Okay, the act Shechem and then ship, right? So, a leadership role. Think about how many compound words and then ship is then used, So, and just keep this in mind. And they're dealing with the Confederacy. They have their own league of what? Other tribes. Are they strangers? Absolutely not. They are not foreign. They are brothers and cousins, as we read in America Being. Oh, it turned to page 1. So let's go back to 142 or something like that. Will take us to 130. Really? For today, it only take one. I don't remember what it was. 50. Let's try 130. No, 150. I don't know why it's doing that. It was there before. 135. Alright, sorry about that. There we go. Okay, here we go again. We deal with the Benta Shemites. Okay, these are the Canadians. These are the real Canadians. All right. Now these people were pushed. When you look up here, they were pushed where? To St. Croix. The French expelled the natives to St. Croix. Now they were building. What were they building? They were building this 2 strong forts. Okay. Now, while they were building the strong forts in 1611 by Montefort Chapeni, but was hindered. The colony was designed right in 1540, but in the year 1611, when they were building it, it was hindered by the invasion of the Iroquois. Now, here you have the Iroquois brought up. Down here, you have the Benta Shemites being listed, calling themselves Canadians under the blanket title Canadians. They are the Benta Shemites, who are the Hurons, the Algonquins, and okay, I've read this many times. I'm just going to screw those names up. Now, keeping that in mind, going back to this video, when he does the lookup, we can see for Sachem, we deal with the Algonquins, okay? Algonquins. Same people. You see that? See how we just tied together the Algonquins? The Algonquins dealing with, they were up north under the blanket term Canadian, right? With their brothers, who are the Benta Shemites, whom are the Hurons, the Algonquins, the Quinnan. Okay, how did they deal with these names? Babel had to happen over here. Oh, shit. And when we read all of this, and especially when we go to the Septuagint, when we read all of this and understand what's going on, just to reiterate for the final time, then we get with, damn, man, come back. We get what the Sachemship then is. It is to kill men that screw your sister if they're from the Canaanite bloodline. As far as we can tell, that's what it is. All right, I'm going to end that there. Au revoir.